Good morning and welcome to San Diego People. I'm Alan Denton. On this Easter Sunday edition of San Diego People, we are going to take a look at the role faith plays in political campaigns, sports, and the entertainment world. We'll talk with the founder of New Venture Church and the Chargers chaplain, Pastor Sean Mitchell. And we'll also hear from the musician behind some of the biggest songs in the contemporary church world. But with me right now is Mark Larson, radio talk show host for 1170 KCBQ. Thanks for being with us today.
That is correct, and happy Easter to you. It's one of those interesting mornings. I mean, here we are, Sunday morning, Easter Sunday. There are those who celebrate Easter, might be at church now. Some did the sunrise service, some do Saturday nights. But hey, it's Easter. So out of all the news in the world, I feel good because we can still celebrate.
Many celebrate it in different ways. Speaking of celebrating Easter Sunday, I mean, and as we look at religion as well in this light, it's always played a huge role in politics in this country, hasn't it? I mean, when we go back to the founding fathers of this country, how much it's played in the world of politics. That's what makes this country so unique, isn't it?
Right, and I think a lot of people today would like to pretend like that wasn't the case. They say, well, you know, not everybody was Christian at the founding because there were some deists. I mean, and you get into all the sort of the weeds of theology there. You still can't get away from the God talk in the founding fathers' documents and writings. There are certainly people politically who would love to just take it out of the public square or to say to anybody who believes anything outside of politics and the power of government, you believe what you're going to believe, but go put it somewhere else. You know, keep it at home.
Sure.
That's what makes America great. Is that sort of hey, it's e pluribus unum. You know, out of many one, that we come together as Americans, even though there are different faiths, there are agnostics, there are atheists, but in this country, you have a right to believe what you believe and to talk about it.
And as we look back on more current politicians, faith played a huge role with Ronald Reagan, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. And he never really made a big deal about wearing it on his sleeve. I mean, he wasn't afraid to talk about God. He kind of, in some ways, I think that's what I've done over the years. I mean, if God comes up on my talk show, which is a general market talk show in the mornings on KCBQ, I'm not going to shy away from it, but I'm not, you know, doing an altar call at the end of a segment before going to commercials. But Reagan was never shy about talking about his faith, and in fact, after the assassination attempt in March of 1981, he pretty much stopped going to church every weekend. And that was not because he thought he was anywhere closer to God, although I believe that he was, because he had made a comment about whatever life I have left, I'm going to give it to God.
Right.
But he didn't want to be a problem for the people attending the church service.
He
didn't want them going through the screening device.
He didn't talk as much about it later in his
But he had a huge
years in the White House.
He had the huge support, of course,
he
of the moral majority.
He sure did.
All, you know,
Jerry Falwell and all that.
All the, you know, Cal Thomas, everybody coming together, and that was a big part of his win in 1980 when I was merely a small child watching that election. And in 1984, yes, we were very young, as you know, Alan. But and you know, that was when really things changed. Although before that, with Jimmy Carter, you remember he was the Baptist of Plains, Georgia.
He was a teacher. He was a teacher in the Southern Baptist Church.
I think he still teaches Bible or Sunday mornings. I'd like to attend one of those sometime and see what else pops up. That's just me, because
it would be
Easter.
interesting.
I'm not going to go there Easter Sunday morning.
That's a whole other topic right there. I'm telling you.
But there were. That was really when. It was, to use a title of the program that I appear on with Dr. David Jeremiah, a turning point. I think a turning point for the country was when Jimmy Carter ran. A lot of people think it was Reagan, but when Jimmy Carter ran and he was talking more boldly about his faith, I think more people said, oh, wow. And remember, he got tripped up because he said he lusted after his wife. I mean, how times change.
You know, if you look back at Jimmy Carter, too, and even to this day, I'm sure it's in some of the books that he's written, I mean, his faith got him in trouble with his own religion, with the Southern Baptist Convention.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, very controversial man, both politically and in the religious world.
Well, and that's the case with a lot of people. The point is, if you step up for what you believe, if you're not getting some sort of resistance, you probably ought to check your delivery mechanism. You know, if you're so benign that no one really cares, if you really believe in something, then I think you stand up for what you believe proudly. And I have great respect for those with whom I disagree, whether they're church people or not. But I want them to cut me some slack if I happen to talk about God and not give me, like I'll hear sometimes over the years, well, you know, you started talking about your family and something that happened on the weekend and at church. That's my life. You know, on radio, especially personality talk radio, you live out your life on the radio, and my life includes God and faith in Christ, so it's there. But I'm not a pastor.
Right. Former President George W. Bush got in some hot water from time to time during his years in the White House.
George W. Bush got in hot water?
Over his faith.
Yes, he
over
did.
his faith.
Yeah, well, because he was, again, unabashedly Christian. And it wasn't always the most articulate.
Yeah.
I think the real measure of authenticity with faith in the public square is when you just let it out as it is, warts and all. You don't have to be the guy straight out of seminary. You know, Reagan told stories, Jesus told parables. I'm not in any way, don't get the wrong, I'm not saying Reagan and Jesus were one, but stories help. You basically tell stories that connects with people. It makes them think. It makes them question, okay, is this all there is in life, or do we do something bigger? But sometimes people would get on George W. Bush. I didn't agree with him all the time on political issues, but a lot of times. But it was messy. It was a messy message. The Bible's full of messy messengers.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the Apostle Peter. You ever wanted inspiration? You look at a guy who's, you know, this is my guy, or David. You know, you look at those biblical stories. They messed up on a regular basis. It's like it was a vocation.
Sure. Yeah.
And David was still, you know, next to God's own heart.
And he also made no bones about his association with many religious leaders, conservative religious leaders. For instance, Billy Graham, Franklin Graham. I mean, they were frequent visitors and I'm sure overnight guests at the White House.
And then sometimes you get all those questions like, oh, they were at the White House, or if they say something, you know, Franklin Graham may say something boldly from his standpoint of faith when he was talking about the Islamic faith after 9/11. All of a sudden, everybody's apologizing, and then that turns around where critics say, well, now, Bush, you need to disown him. President Obama had the same problems with Reverend Wright. You know,
I was going to say that. Sometimes your religious beliefs can backfire on you.
Well, and this is why in the case of President Obama.
And that was the case with President Obama.
Right, and here's the thing, that you can't be in a church. Now, setting aside the Obama deal, you can't go to the same church for 20 years and not have some of it rub off on you, unless you're going in with ear protection and your eyes are closed and somebody hauls you in and hauls you out. You know, I have a lot of teaching that I picked up from my pastor over the years, and thank God that I have. But it's part of you. It's part of your wiring, because you go there to, you're worshiping, and you know, some people go to church on Easter Sunday and that's about it. I'm not here to preach about this, but I'm just saying people tend to go for that weekly renewal and hopefully do something about it in between Sundays. But I can't believe that anybody, setting aside the whole, I didn't pick up any of that, over 20 years or 10 years or 4 weeks, and
nobody buys it.
You pick it up. And if you don't like what you're hearing, you go somewhere else before 20 years go by.
Exactly, so, and I think that was brought up during the campaign time and time again.
Probably not enough.
We've got a little more time left in this segment. Let's talk a little bit about Mitt Romney. If he wins the nomination, his faith in Mormonism has been already a big issue. How much more of an issue is that going to be in the campaign?
It's going to be a huge issue. But I'll tell you what, anybody who's running versus Obama in this election, any of the candidates in the mix there, you've got Ron Paul, who is a big pro-lifer. Nobody can beat his pro-life record. He delivered as an OBGYN doctor 4,000 plus babies. That's pretty strong pro-life.
Sure.
But there are those who say, well, then we're going to criticize, because he's also professing Christian. You have Newt Gingrich, who's Roman Catholic, who was Baptist.
Right.
And there's the two earlier wives, and there's all that drama. There's Rick Santorum and his Roman Catholic faith. So the point is, as even Sarah Palin said on the Today Show this week, where Matt Lauer was saying, you know, shouldn't they pick somebody, if Romney's the guy, pick somebody who's going to be a stronger number two? And she said, let's face it, you guys are going to pummel anybody who comes on and goes after like this. You won't see sponsored ads from the Obama campaign hitting Romney if he's the nominee, talking about his Mormon faith, but you can bet it's going to be out there by surrogates. And Lawrence O'Donnell on MSNBC was doing it a second time the other night. The thing to remember is that, I love Cal Thomas's line, that when we come to voting for president, we're voting for president. We're not voting for pastor.
Exactly.
There's no constitutional requirement that you have to be one faith or no faith or somewhere in agnostic land. So with that in mind, but Americans have the absolute right to make judgments as to who they're voting for whom they're voting by learning about the candidates.
Exactly.
But then it becomes who can do the job. So.
All right, we're going to take a break and finish our discussion in just a minute. Coming up on San Diego People, the role that faith plays in sports. That's up next. Stay with us.
Nobody beats El Cajon Ford, and nobody treats you better.
Nobody beats El Cajon Ford.
Nobody makes it easier for you to get into your new Ranger with a big $6,500 off. Our best selection of the year, every one of them has a deeper discount price for you. Trade in your old Ranger and get a $1,000 bonus, but when they're gone, they're gone. Last year for Rangers, we have yours right now. Come see us at Broadway and Main and shop online now at elcajonford.com.
Reporting live here on the scene where an amazing deal has just been spotted. The Cox Bundle. Get the internet rated fastest in America, live TV on your iPad, and monthly savings over the phone company. All for just $25 each. Plus, get free HBO and Cinemax and ask about bundle benefits. So call, click, or come by today. Even more deals are online. When you're ready for the best bundle value, we're there.
There's a new girl in town.
Maybe when you're done with her printer, you could set up mine.
Yeah, I'll get to it. Don't nag me.
And Penny's going to take her down.
You'll fight!
Next Big Bang.
Tonight at 7, only on KUSI.
Good job, guys. San Diego's largest low-cost plumber is Bill Howe, where we know how. Our state-of-the-art diagnostic tools makes troubleshooting a breeze with instant feedback for a quick solution. Our drain cleaning starts at only $78. With over 50 trucks to serve you day or night, no job is too big or too small. So when you need a residential or commercial plumber, you know who to call.
Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE. Bill Howe. We know how.
It's Truck Month, and at Toyota of El Cajon, you can save up to $7,000 off select all-new 2012 Toyota trucks in stock.
We know that price and selection sell trucks.
Drive your future home. Toyota of El Cajon.
This week on Good Morning San Diego, we know where they stand on the issues. Now find out how they grew up. A personal look at the mayoral candidates.
Plus, Rob Lowe shares his favorite places in California, from romantic to adventurous. It's all happening this week on Good Morning San Diego.
KUSI's Man About Town, Mike Castellucci.
What will it take to get you into this beauty here?
Nice nightclub. Floor is a little wet.
Weekday mornings on Good Morning San Diego.
And welcome back to San Diego, people. Faith and football, the two may not necessarily both come to mind, but the issue was capitulated to the spotlight recently by quarterback Tim Tebow. The so-called Tebowing phenomenon gained national attention. Joining us now to talk more about this is the founder of the New Venture Christian Fellowship and chaplain for the San Diego Chargers, Pastor Sean Mitchell. Mark Larson's also with us right now. Pastor, first off, as chaplain of the Chargers, what are some of your duties during the season? What exactly do you do?
Well, sometimes they wonder, am I praying for the guys who are performing last rites? That's when we were losing. But we have a great time with the guys. As far as rock stars and pro athletes, those are the heroes of today. And if I can impart to these young men, very talented men, something that ends up in Sports Illustrated or on ESPN, they say a word and kids flock to them. And so basically what happens in the National Football League, these guys play on Sundays, and so they can't go to the church of their choice. So in the NFL, what we do is we provide a platform so these guys can come and open up the Bible, hear the Word of God, be encouraged. And so every team in the NFL has a chapel program. I fly with the team. I'm on the sidelines with the guys, also here, of course, in San Diego. If by chance I don't, I'll call to the chaplain. Let's say we're playing the Patriots. I'll call that chaplain. And what happens is they will go there and arrange so that they get an opportunity to put down the playbook, all the concerns about that upcoming game. They can relax and just focus on the things of the Lord. And the Chargers have one of the larger chapel programs. We get between 20 and 25 players who come, 6 or 7 coaches, and a great bunch of guys. You always hear the bad stuff about these athletes.
Sure, yeah.
And but there's a lot of good going on.
And you've been doing that for so many years, too.
Mark,
like 3 decades, isn't it?
I started off as...
My how time flies.
And here it is, we're talking football on the first weekend of baseball. And they've got their own chaplain and need it.
Exactly.
So,
right.
But while we're talking football, let's talk a little bit about Tim Tebow. I mean, religion and sports, never more has it come to the spotlight like it has since Tim Tebow surfaced from Florida and is now in the NFL and, of course, now with the New York Jets. he's getting a lot of publicity, some not so good with the Jets. What's your take on that?
You know, I can't applaud that guy enough. You know, the Bible says, 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether you eat or drink or whatsoever you do all of the glory of God. And Tim's done that, I mean, in a tremendous way. In fact, in his press conference, when he was introduced to the people of New York, he was smiling and laughing and positive, and there was tweets that were going across the ticker tape, and they're going, I'm supposed to hate this guy, but I really like him. And the great thing about Tim is that he's authentically humble. He absolutely loves the Lord. But what he does is, when he's out there performing and playing the game that God has gifted him to play, well, you know, everyone loves a winner, and he's winning. And I think him in New York, I think he has got right now this great strategic opportunity to make a national impact in ways that we have yet to see.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of other guys who pray, but this Tebowing thing just really captured America's.
Mark, jump in on this. Why do sports figures get such a bad rap when they display their
because some of
religious
them have had bad rap sheets, you know, and that's part of it too. But and the other thing is, let's not ignore the fact that media, especially now 24/7, not just television, radio, newspapers, but it's all the social media. Everybody loves a hot story. There are reasons why, you know, sleazy stories make it. A way to be accepted in some people's eyes, and this new assignment in New York for Tebow would be he moves to New York, moves in with Madonna. You know, I know it's Easter Sunday. I'm not talking about that Madonna. We're talking about the musician.
Right.
But what really hurts me, disturbs me in this, is watching somebody like him who will say, listen, I'm not trying to evangelize people and grab them and drag them over and baptize them. He basically says, somebody says, hey, great game. He said, I'll give credit to God, and to Christ specifically. So that's his opportunity as an American to do it, but there are so many people who just want to see him fail, and that becomes the new narrative. I was watching one of the nighttime comedy shows the other night because we just want to know what everybody's talking about, and it was like, oh, here he comes to New York and all the temptations, and the comedian, in this case it was Letterman, says, oh, what on earth could go wrong with that? Translation, we can't wait for him to blow it so we can make fun of him.
Yeah.
And that to me is, I know it's, hey, again, it's free speech for everybody, but it's a little bit sick in the old definition of the word sick.
Sean, what do you think? I mean, he's not going to get much good publicity out of the New York press because of his religious beliefs, is he?
You know, I just think that basically his witness on and off the field, in the locker room, he's a great teammate. I know, I've met Tim. We've had the opportunity to spend time together, a little bit of time. Every team in the NFL, when the game is over, we meet at the 50-yard line. We take a knee, no matter what color of the jersey. We gather hands and we thank the Lord for the opportunity to play. And what happens is that this man, he'll pray. You know, he prays before he plays, but he plays excellently. I absolutely agree that, sure, he's getting a bad rap, so to speak, but he doesn't care. He's enjoying the game that he loves. He's making a difference. And the thing that I love in post-game interviews, win or lose, he's always talking about the most exciting thing for me is that 6-year-old, that 7-year-old, that hospital visit I was able to make, or that hurting child who's on the sidelines of the game. That for him is a success that he really records.
What do you think his teammates in the Jets are saying behind the scenes about Tebow and his religious views?
Well, I know some of the guys on that team, and some of the guys, it's interesting, they are starting to cool it because once he got back there, what I'm hearing is, you know what, he really is a nice guy. He has brought success. Now, they were upset before he got there, but now since he's been there and making friends one teammate at a time, they're going, well, let's give the guy a shot. So I think this is a great opportunity. There's some guys on that team, there's some brothers on that team that do need our Savior, and I think Tim by his play is going to make a difference.
But this is all good news, and you know, good news doesn't lead. The old admonition, if it bleeds, it leads. That's kind of a news thing.
Exactly.
What's been the big story with Charger connections this week? Former Charger Ryan Leaf.
Yeah.
Twice gets you know, on the burglary charges. And it pains me, even though I remember the story. I remember him shouting down the reporters in the locker room. You were probably within earshot when that happened. And so many of fellow talk show hosts this week have been, you know, laughing it up, yucking it up. I think it's a horrible waste of God's gifts with whatever's going on in his life. And I really, maybe this is part of just getting older, that when I see that, I just kind of go, as a Christian, I'll just say, man, I'm going to pray about that guy and you know, let God sort it out, because I get so tired of that part of our media business that is let's exploit and then leave somebody in an ash heap over here. So for every Tebow story, there's one of those, and it's the Ryan Leaf thing that'll become a bigger story for a while.
And it's a very sad commentary because when the camera lights are off and you spend time with Ryan, he really is a good guy. He's just. his upbringing and all the adulation, the money, the fame at a young age, it was just too much for him. My heart breaks for him.
And that happens a lot of times with these kids, doesn't it?
Oh, and you know, these guys are 6'8", 350, but they're kids.
They are,
and they're thrown
right.
they're given so very much.
Yeah.
And so it's one reason why we have the chapel program.
Right. Tell me a little bit about this. This is Take a Knee and Win.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the best part of it, the best play in the NFL is what happens when you know that the game is won and you just want to run the clock out. And so you basically say, hike, that ball comes to you, that quarterback takes a knee, and the game is won. But in life, the same thing happens. You know, basically, when you're on your knees, you're looking in the right direction. You're focusing on the things of God. You can take a knee in every area of your life and make a difference personally. Not just T-bowing, not just for Tim, but for you and I, it's God's guarantee that we can knock on heaven's door, God responds, and God's under no obligation to minister or to help us until we begin to talk to Him. So we encourage people in that booklet. Actually, we talk about Tim Tebow, things like this. Oh, yeah, yeah. Basically, everything in there is also communicated audibly. And so what happens is folks can go ahead and get in touch with us. We love to
How do they find it on your website?
Yep, www.newventure.org, and we'd be glad to send you one. Hey, happy Easter to everyone listening. Would love to go ahead and get those.
People are tuning in right now going, they're talking an awful lot about God on San Diego People this morning.
Well, it's Easter Sunday. It's Easter Sunday.
Come on.
Right.
Cut us some slack here.
Exactly. That's the topic of the program. All right. We're going to take a break right now, and we will be right back. Still ahead on San Diego People. We'll be talking to the songwriter of one of the most performed and recorded Christian songs. Stay with us for
that. It was a classic Vegas night. We dropped our bags in the suite. We caught the game at Legacy Stadium. We had dinner at Twist. Then we hit the town. Things got a little crazy. One thing led to another, and the next day, Steve tagged me in a photo from the Gold Lounge. It was a blatant violation of the code. So I did the right thing, and I reported him. Don't be that guy.
Report friends and learn more at visitlasvegas.com.
Greenlight Financial Services can guarantee the best deal, like our 10-year fixed-rate refi as low as 2.75%. And if our rate isn't the lowest, you get $500.
Access to Independence celebrates March as National Disability Awareness Month. Access serves more than 300,000 people with disabilities in San Diego and Imperial counties by offering independent living programs such as employment assistance, assistive technology, and housing resources.
Cirque du Soleil invites you on a fascinating journey through myth and truth, where creature becomes man and man becomes the future. Totem opens April 25th under the Big Top at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, San Diego. Tickets at cirquedusoleil.com.
Partisan politics has become a game, an us versus them mentality. Well, I have fought in a war, I know real enemies, and I'm not here to play games. That won't solve our problems. I became an independent because solutions won't come from the far left or far right. They'll come from all of us working together.
Tested, trusted, independent. Nathan Fletcher for mayor.
Let's get San Diego moving again.
And welcome back to San Diego People. He's written songs that have been performed by big stars, including Billy Ray Cyrus. We're talking about the music of Joseph Bollock. He joins us now, along with Pastor Sean Mitchell and Mark Larson. Gentlemen, welcome back.
How you doing?
Good. Joe, tell me a little bit about what inspired you to get into the Christian music field.
Well, first of all, happy Resurrection Day. And music has been raised with music my whole life, and had a call of God in my life at a young age, and just kind of went for it.
Yeah. How many songs have you written over the years?
Probably in the hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's changed a lot, hasn't it? I mean, when we talk about Christian music, I mean, from the traditional Christian hymns now to what you do, which is more of a praise and worship type music, right?
Exactly, yes. Just basic worship, bringing people into the presence of God. And a song I think we're going to talk about, Come Just As You Are. It's all about just coming to God just how you are. and letting God do the work in your life.
And your music is performed around the world, a lot of different languages every weekend, right?
Yes, especially Come Just As You Are. It's been translated into more languages than any other song. In fact, ASCAP just awarded it as the most sung song and recorded song in church history, contemporary church history. Yeah.
If you were to say, okay, this is my favorite of all the songs I've written, any one particular come to mind?
My wife writes a lot of great songs, but Come Just As You Are is definitely one that hits my heart because it's really God's message to the world. And I like to see people respond to God's love. And that's really why I wrote that song.
Wow. I tell you, you know, and back to the fact that music has changed in the church over the years.
Well, some of those old hymns were kind of rock and roll for their day, too. There's always somebody out there going, this is too wild. The violins are out of control here. You know, what's this Handel guy doing with this?
Well, I mean, drums entered the picture and guitars entered the picture. At one time, it was piano and just organ, basically,
it's really
and that
funny.
was it.
Yeah, that was it.
I think about my old grandfather, rest him, he was 96, lived to be 96, and Swedish immigrant. I remember he, as a real long time since a kid, Christian, would say, well, we got to perk up the music a little bit here, you know, but it's always the same. It's like the pickles, he would say. So you go to the store, basically the same pickle, the packaging changes.
Right.
You can package, as long as you got the pickle there, in this case you got the biblical truth and you're singing about it. There's all kinds of styles. I know my pastor, David Jeremiah at Shadow Mountain, said years ago when there was an especially intense, I think it was a high school group that was appearing for some outreach, and he said, you know, we have all types of music here. We have the traditional, we have the contemporary, and going on right next door with the kids today is such and such a group. And he said, if you get a little nervous about that, just don't go over there. It's fine. Just don't go over there. It's fine. It's still the same message.
And it is, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah,
it's still the same message.
Same message, just different methods. And that's what God uses. And God has called us all to do work in the areas of our life where He has called us, and to take those things and do the best we can with them.
Yeah, you know, I years ago had the opportunity to interview a guy by the name of J.D. Sumner, who goes back way back, backup singer with Elvis in the Stands years ago.
Right.
What an intriguing gentleman he was. Interesting, funny, never a dull moment to be around him. And his brother-in-law, Ed Enoch, who also sang in that group at the time.
That's right.
And some talent in not only the Christian music field, but in the secular music world.
Oh, definitely, 100%. The talent is definitely there. There's no getting around that.
But you know, what I find is fascinating as a preacher, you work on that message all week long, 2, 3, 4 weeks, but it's the worship that precedes it that often impacts lives. It really sets the table for what comes next. You know, in our church, we have a little bit of everybody who calls it home at New Venture Christian Fellowship. We say we'll do any kind of music as long as it's not country or rap. And so there's still a whole lot in between. But Joe, when I found out you did Come Just As You Are, I thought, oh my gosh, we sing that song. I can't say the hundreds of times I've heard that in ministry around the world, in our own church. So this is a big deal being next to this guy here. So God bless you, and thanks what you've done for the kingdom. That's huge.
And you're still down at the House of Blues too, aren't you? I mean, you do a lot of different.
I play wherever I'm
venues.
And of course, I'm at Mission Valley Christian Fellowship. This, in fact, I think you can make our 11:15 service this Sunday for Easter if you haven't been to a service yet. But it's all about the message and the music.
Now, how can people find your music? You've got a website, I'm sure.
Yeah, you can look me up on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/Joe Sabolic, and that's JoeSabolick, or you can go to joesabolic.com. And I think there's about 75 or 79 worship songs, newer ones that I have up right now that they can get.
Well, we want to try to get one of your songs in. I think we've got just enough time. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. It's been an interesting day, an interesting show.
Great.
And happy Easter to all of you.
Nice seeing you guys.
Bless you.
And that's it for this edition of San Diego People. Be sure and join us tonight for the KUSI News at 6, 10, and 11. As we leave you this morning, here's a listen to one of Joe Sabolic's songs, It's a New Day. Have a great day.
Forgiven, healed and free, no weapon formed will succeed, nor has power over me. Your word is true, I believe, because you conquered, I receive all things to live in victory. It's a new, it's a new